Happy Monday night to you. I am on a little bit later, so if you miss this, you can catch it on the replay. I'm just checking up on my news feeds here and just looking at the crazy in the world today. And apparently, there's a lot of continuous reaction from the liberal emotional hive mind. And, it's interesting. Like, I did a couple of videos about this DNC finance manager who was just going on all these press runs. She was in her feelings. And the biggest thing that she mentioned was that she was promised, other donors were promised, that Kamala Harris would win. And I just thought it was just so perplexing how somebody could speak so definitively to their donors about an outcome that theoretically would be beyond their control. And I was looking at this montage of liberal media and I hated, I don't know what Jeremy from the quartering did with that video, but there's this professor, she's a liberal professor. She claims that she's had this lucrative political science degree. She claims that she's a political analyst, right? And so on the day of election, she said that she goes into the grocery store to buy a bottle of champagne to celebrate Kamala Harris's win. And she's talking to this cashier and she's, basically, you know, say, have you voted, right? Honestly, I would have just told the lady none of your damn business so it at least make her think twice about asking another person that question. But obviously this person indulged her. And he said, yes, I did. They talked about the early voting, and she said that she could tell that this guy voted for Trump. So, she was very much insistent upon telling this guy that Kamala Harris was going to win. She even went as far as to tell, he said, well, it's very close. He's not saying anything definitively, but this lady is saying she's going to win. And she does this video talking about this experience with this guy. She said, I walked out with my wine, and she just knew she was going to be celebrating Kamala Harris win. And of course, Kamala Harris lost. Now, you went on the internet speaking in definitives, trolling and bragging about how you just basically read this guy a new one because he was just so convinced that Trump was going to win. Right? And she ends up losing. So obviously this woman has to do a follow-up video to clean up, her bragging, her artificial bragging. And of course she blamed it on misogyny and America not being ready for a black president or a woman president. These people are still going nuts. Obviously, they're in their feelings. And it just seems like there's more and more things that are adding to these people being in their feelings. So I caught this one guy and he's like, are you kidding me? They're traitors. And he's, showing a picture of Joe and Mika from Morning Joe. And apparently, the liberals are upset across the board that these people, Joe and Mika, admitted. What y'all say?
Just that. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that.
So let me tell you something. Joe and Mika were regulars at Mar-a-Lago prior to Trump running for president in 2016. I think, was it Trump's lawyer who mentioned them? Somebody from Trump's camp was talking about how regular Joe and Mika were at Mar-a-Lago prior to Trump running. So these people are, again, flip-flopping, double talking demons. You can't really trust them. But Joe and Mika understands one thing. The liberal media is not going very well. And so they have to be in that preservation mode, right? And preservation mode means that they need to open communication with Trump. They need to not be going so hard on Trump. They need to be truthful about Trump. They need to appeal to Trump's base. And they see the ratings of their other liberal counterparts tanking, right? And so Joe and Mika, they're like, self preservation here. Let's just get our asses on over to Mar-a-Lago, make good with this man so that we can have some level of relevancy, right? Because people are pissed at the liberal media. Excuse me. So these people are
Joe and I
going
went to
back and forth.
Mar-a-Lago to meet
They
personally
got to
with
be on Trump's
President-elect
side
Trump.
now because
It was
obviously
the
they're
first
trying to save
time
their
we have
jobs.
seen him in 7 years.
Now,
We
we
haven't
talked
seen
about a
them
lot
since
of
they
issues,
turned on
including
them.
abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade,
This is
that we
called
didn't see eye to
self-preservation, you
eye on a lot of
guys.
issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications.
They have to, okay? Joe and Mika are not dumb. They understand where the tides are going. They understand how much liberal media is hurting after that Kamala loss. They have to flip flop and open communications with Trump. And they can't be lying on a man anymore. What do I think about the nation? About the nation as a whole, like America as a whole? I think it definitely is has some levels of demonism to it. But we pray for America. Obviously, this nation is quite demonic. Lots of demonic spirits infused in some of the people who take leadership in this country. So we pray, we pray. So Joe and Mika, I mean, it's interesting. Again, they were going hard on Trump. They were calling him a fascist. They were doing everything that they could to sway their audience's opinion about Trump. And now they're flip flopping. Now they are flip flopping back to opening communications. This is self preservation, you guys. This is self-preservation. And it's like you see these people don't have any loyalty. So when people keep talking about Trump is drafting loyalists, it's like you have to. Like, what's wrong with you people? What are we gonna do? Just draft any and everybody because they're somebody's kid? Meanwhile, they working for whoever side undercover. I think if Trump understood anything, I think he was true trusting in his first term. That's why he had a lot of people that he thought were going to be on board with, his vision for things. And these people were big psyops, right? That's why he ended up having to fire quite a few people because he couldn't trust them. And if you can't trust people, you can't have them working for you. And I think that's really what it was. So I don't really particular like, Trump's picks all the way around. I think some of these people are usual suspect people. But we shall see. You know what I mean? Tulsi Gabbard, she's definitely weaved her way into the conservative movement, announcing and denouncing the Democratic Party publicly, you know. And, Matt Gaetz is like, you know, hair, Mr. Hair. I don't really know about him. I've heard some really flaky things about Matt Gaetz, but we'll see what happens, if he can defend the law. You know who I really, really like is Josh Hawley. I like Josh. I mean, if we just gonna do the white boy, it's like what Josh Hawley gonna do? All right, I really like Josh Hawley. I really like that guy a lot. He's very straightforward. Josh Hawley is really good at his job. I really respect that guy a lot. He gives it to people. You ever check out those Forbes, congressional type of hearings or the Senate hearings that Forbes do? just watch Josh Hawley. I really like that guy. And, I don't, he doesn't come off as a loyalist to anything. He is an Israel loyalist for sure. But, in terms of, you know, he doesn't come off as a rhino to me. If anything, if anybody has another opinion about Josh Hawley outside of that, cool. But Josh Hawley doesn't give rhino, right? He definitely understands where the better opportunities are being in the U.S. government. And obviously, that's always going to be wear pro Israel like a badge. You got to wear it like a badge of honor. They got to feel it. They got to feel that worship to Israel. So, and if you don't do that for them, then, you're just going to be nobody for real. You see how quickly APAC got Corey, what's it, Corey Bush, Jamal Bowman. Well, did Rashida Tlaib get primary too, or did she get 86 too? you know they got money. You got to be pro-Israel to really be knee deep in the United States government, or you're not going to have a career. You're not going to have a career. And like I told you guys, United States and Israel, they're part of that second beast in Bible prophecy. So these nations will always be in union. They will always be in union. That's why you absolutely have to give fealty to the beast. All right. But anyways, I'm trying to figure out who the son of perdition is going to be. I keep thinking it's Trump. I actually thought of Trump as the son of perdition, right? Because he only rules for 3.5 years, which is consequently how long the U.S. presidency is. Ain't that something? How Bible prophecy just, it's such a coincidence, don't you think? But anyways, craziness in the world today. And there's another movement called the 4B movement. What's the 4B movement? Is this for 4 years? These whores are going to be celibate. So sorry, Planned Parenthood. Okay, woman with alopecia reacts. What? Why they got a woman with alopecia reacting to the 4B movement? What's
the election had passed, and every single thing on my page that morning was women shaving their heads. They're like, we're shaving our heads to be unattractive.
Okay.
I don't have any hair, so I was like, well, this is not a move. This is not going to be good. I could see the way that it was going, and instantly every emotion in me that I've been navigating with my alopecia just came to the surface that morning.
Liberal women don't care about that, honey.
Just were like two bold letters up in the air. It felt like that's not what we should be doing.
That's a damn shame. These liberal women, they're not as conscious as they try to make it seem. They got a whole movement. They out here shaving their head, right? Talk about we don't want to be beautiful for these men, right? And this whole woman with alopecia, a whole hair condition, she's saying, why are you guys doing this? Right? Like, I don't have a choice. This is my condition. And you all are shaving your head in some kind of political protest against men who voted a different way. Liberal women aren't as conscious as they try to claim that they are. They're just emotionally reactive. They see a trend, they see a fad, and then they just jump on it without thinking, like, okay, what about the people going through chemo? What about people like this chick with alopecia who have to deal with hair baldness all the time? This is how demonic a lot of these women are. I think the guys should be count their blessings that these women want to do all this crazy stuff. At least you get to isolate the crazies. I mean, isn't that what Britney Spears did? That's like to me a professed sign of crazy when a woman just sit there and shave her head in some kind of weird ass protest. It's just weird. Okay, what is it? Thank you, thank you, thank you. You say he's a corporate Republican in your opinion. You're talking about Josh Hawley. You think he's a corporate Republican? Senate staffers give them all scripts. I heard Joe and Mika's staff on their show are not very happy with their little announcement about extending an olive branch to Donald Trump, their audience was not very happy about that at all. What's going on, Joshua Jones? I see you. But I like Josh Hawley. I think he's a cool dude. I like the way he comes at people. Um, but speaking on the topic, though, just really quickly again, this is why, there should be some kind of like, media to me, they should not be allowed, like these major influence machine, they should not be allowed to speak definitively about elections or results of elections, even if you feel that way. And again, to, I think, was it Chris Hedges' point, real journalists don't get paid 5 million, 10 million, $20 million a year. A lot of these people, these so-called anchors on these cable news network, they're just opinion people. They're actors, they're characters. They're really not real journalists, or at least they're not practicing real journalism in the broad scheme of things. And I think what the trend has been has turned Americans off. And now people like Joe and Meek are like, we need to turn a new leaf if our show is going to survive. Because I don't think a lot of conservatives were watching Morning Joe, were they? Right? Isn't that a liberal show? I don't watch Morning Joe at all. Like, I don't like any liberal media. They just seem like pompous people. Like, white supremacists, most of them with their black puppets and whatnot, talking heads when they need a black person to co-sign some stuff. You know, that's what I think about liberal media. But we'll see what happens. I want to see Joe and Mika interview Donald Trump on their show. Right? That would definitely get the liberal folks in their feelings even more. Maybe they should do that next year, though. I really do try. I think that they should try to wind down a lot of the craziness, because some of these liberal women, they are just, they're going nuts. And people are not happy with Joe and Mika. Damn, they're like starlets. I mean, I see a lot. Megyn Kelly says that they have no credibility. She said she's blasting them, because I think these conservative commentators know Joe and Mika are trying to get back into the Trump spotlight. They're trying to get into the Trump favor because they're on a losing team and they don't want to lose their ratings. So they need to hurry up and get them Trump supporters, right, to bring them ratings back up. So they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And poor Whoopi Goldberg and the broads on the View, they're coping with it. These people are really feeling betrayed by their own people. I think that the Democratic Party is really just, right now, is destroyed from within. And hopefully they'll be able to, come back from that, because right now it's a lot of infighting. It looks like a lot of infighting. A lot of their base are disconnecting from the Democratic media, and they are not really buying into these people who pretty much just inflame their emotions with a bag of garbage, and then, promising them, assuring them in little subtle ways that Kamala was going to win, Kamala, whatever her name is. And, you know, it didn't work out well for them. So I didn't, and I'm late, but I did want to do this quick live stream. Why is Tina Knowles going after Candace Owens? Like, what she say? I mean, I know that everybody and their mama has been talking about how Beyonce got paid $10 million, and then she dipped out after she came in 11th hour, for those who don't like my 8th hour. But Beyonce knew what she was doing. She wasn't about to play with that Texas Hold'em album, that Cowboy Carter album. She was trying to get them white folks, those MAGA supporters, to buy her album. She couldn't show up for Camel like that just in the beginning. It just wouldn't work out for Beyonce. So she had to go ahead and come out at the last minute and get that 10 million. And here's the thing. I'm not going to dog Beyonce for getting that money. I'm not gonna dog Beyonce for getting them coins. If somebody's giving out, it's just like Mike Tyson in that fluff ass fight with what's the dude named Jake Logan or Jake Paul or whatever. It's like Mike did, you know, got what $20 million for that bogus ass fight. We all know it was bogus as hell, right? But I mean, I'm at the end of the day, we can't really knock Mike for getting that money. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, I would have did that if I had to fight like that, anyways, for 20 million." You can't knock Beyonce for getting that 10 million that Kamala Harris's campaign was just willing to dish out for her for 5 minutes, right? You can't be mad at Beyonce for that. I think that it's a poor reflection on Kamala Harris's campaign when you are paying people who are already worth multiple millions of dollars, when you are prioritizing paying these people over the regular ass people that you got working, your vendors and your campaign staff, those people, because apparently, allegedly, those people are saying that they are still waiting for payment from a campaign that now it's come out that she possibly allegedly raised $1.5 billion, in campaign funds. So again, even more reason why people should be side eyeing that campaign. Like, how the hell did y'all not pay your people? And how the hell did you prioritize paying people who were already worth millions of dollars, hundreds of $1 million in Beyonce's case? How did you pay her before you paid these regular people? And I think that's the bigger disgrace of, how those campaign funds were allocated. Regular people allegedly were not paid, and they're still waiting for payment in lieu of her loss. So you said they're waiting, they can't afford to sue. No, they can't afford to sue. No, a lot of those people, unfortunately, hopefully, they don't walk out with just being free labor to the Kamala Harris campaign, because then she would really look like a slave driver then. It's like that's the worst type of slave owner. It's like you ain't even give your slaves their biscuits. All those people went hard for you, campaign staff, and Beyonce, Eminem, Katy Perry, all the people who are worth multiple millions of dollars got chopped off before those people who actually was out there doing the foot and leg work for her campaign. That is a shame. That is a shame, and it is a disgrace. And I don't think that Kamala Harris, and they're saying that she's not even coming out saying anything to them. That's the weird thing about it. It's like they're saying that they're not getting like no apology, no anything. They're just like, it's just crickets. They ain't talking about how the money spent. They're not saying sorry to nobody for giving them false promises. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. You said Beyonce can sue, so she got paid. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Beyonce definitely. If she didn't get her money, they probably had to pay Beyonce up front. There were no promissory notes, IOU, half now, half later. No, Beyonce was like, I need that 10 million up front. So when I walk out the door after my 5 minute speech, me and Kelly with her ugly ass suit on, we could just go on about our business in Houston. And I think that's exactly what Beyonce did, but that is sad. You said so true. Personally, I know a Republican senator, um, and they just used Trump's name because prior to Hillary running, the Republicans were toast. they had no pull. Exactly. A lot of people were riding on the coattail of Trump. And that was very obvious. A lot of those Republicans did not like Trump. They were jealous of Trump. Trump came out of nowhere and basically became the glory whore of their party, right? The Republican Party was trash. There was nothing appealing about it. There was nothing attractive about it prior to Donald Trump. And they got to keep it real. Without Trump, the Republican Party was nothing. All of those people were old and lame and establishment people just doing shit. Most of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them, right? I like John Kennedy too. He's a good Republican senator. Um, is Kamala gonna be on the Supreme Court? No, Kamala Harris is going to be cooking cookies, with her husband. Okay, she's not about to be like, she doesn't need to be propped up for anything else, let alone the Supreme Court. Are you serious? Why would they even think about, first of all, it's sad that they already nominated somebody who couldn't clearly define what a woman was, and she was clearly a woman with children, right? And she had to toe the line of party logic, so she couldn't give an educated response to the question of, what is a woman, right? Because she understands that her party doesn't want her defining, right, the biological definition of the woman and the social definition of the woman. And scientifically, the biological definition always rules, right? But they want to be able to adopt the social definition of a woman. So this so-called this Supreme Court nominee, now Supreme Court justice, couldn't put it out there what a woman was. Ridiculous. So no, Kamala Harris shouldn't be a Supreme Court justice. Why? So she can laugh and cackle at every type of case anytime somebody kind of asks her, well, what do you think? No. No, she needs to do something. Like, what should Kamala really do? Because, she could go back to, once you run for president, it's like, everything else is a downgrade. You might as well just go off and write your memoir or try to do something else in business. I don't know. I don't know what politicians do after their careers are over. Some of them are hooked up well enough where they can stay involved. Some of them get in bed with the military industrial complex and their different side check corporations. So who knows? Maybe she'll get a job with the military doing something. But she definitely shouldn't be a key decision maker in the United States government like that. You said she makes some mean collard greens in the bathtub. She could open up a soul food restaurant. Absolutely. She could do like a Cajun soul food, non soul. I got ideas for Kamala. Non soul, a fusion of East Indian and Jamaican cuisine disguised as Black American food, soul food. I got visions here for her. She could do so much. But we first need to get on writing that book, Kamala. How the Democrats Leverage Me. So hit your girl up, girl. I'm gonna be a ghostwriter. It's gonna be so juicy. Just make sure you don't got no NDAs because I want all of the tea. And they won't let her be a government. Like, yeah, I don't see her touching the Californian government anymore. She might as well just be Doug's wife. Doesn't Doug have business dealings and links with BlackRock anyways? So she's fine. She's not no broke bitch. She probably, and shit, we don't still know where all that billion went. I'm still calculating it all in my mind. The celebrities, the last minute concerts. Maybe that's a billion, maybe it's not, but this sad. Um, you said ain't no party like a Diddy party. I've never been to a Diddy party. And I would never want to go to a Diddy party because obviously they violate children there. And it's just a big collateral fest, right? You know, honestly, Diddy should make a lot of higher class people, who roll in different higher circles, rethink, your alliances, right? I remember when my LinkedIn profile was up or whatever, my LinkedIn account grew from like 3,500 in 2020 to 33,000 by 2023. And then they restricted my account like some bigot assholes because I changed my pronouns to common sense. But, I just kind of like remember, like, my following on LinkedIn. Where was I going with this? Man, I get pissed off just thinking about the fact that I grew a following like that and then they restricted me. But what was I saying with LinkedIn? It was like, let me see. I digress. Sorry, I lost a thought. Mindy and Lindy are all together. Are you talking about Lindy Lee, the DNC finance manager who's singing like a canary about the mismanagement of the funds? That lady? I don't even want to talk about that poor child anymore because I fear for her life at this point because, you know, the true misinformation. You said, are you one of those people hurt by the truth minister and misinformation warrior? Oh, I'm not sure who you're talking to, Mindy, but I'm not hurt by these, truth arbitrators. I definitely feel like, they have betrayed the First Amendment of the Constitution. The United States government has allowed them to do that. And so for me, it's just a reality that this is Satan's world. And in Satan's world, the truth is always going to be suppressed for somebody's lies. So, what can we really do about it in the end? The Satanists are running the world. You know what I mean? So, truth is in these independent channels, right? If you want objectivity, if you want some pragmatism, you got to go to the independent mediums for sure. It's like I checked out of mainstream media a long time ago because these people were just, they were like double talking demons. It's like the way that they set people up, demonize people. I'm like, where's the investigation? I don't see a lot of like real reporting here. I see a lot of opinions. And I'm like, I'm out. And now they're trying to suppress people because they don't want people to see past their lies, right? Their deceptions, their betrayals. I mean, again, Mika and Joe used to hang out with Donald Trump. But, it's so interesting how people always talk about how the Democrats got the minds of black people on lock. But look at how they got even these white Democrats on lock. Because a lot of white Democrats did not hate Trump the way many of them hate Trump right now. A lot of white Democrats were actually rolling with Trump, right? Like Mika and Joe. They were like, ask Mika and Joe how many times have they hung out at Mar-a-Lago prior to Trump, running for president in 2016. And I'm pretty sure that they would tell you that they were there frequently, right? So these people turn on each other. They turn on people at the drop of a dime. And then when they realize that it doesn't benefit them, now they're coming back begging and trying to be friends again and try to get back into the fold. That's really what it is with Mika and Joe. Like, and again, I don't watch Morning Joe, but it seems like to me that is what they are doing. They see the shift in the media, and even MSNBC, their pundits and their strategists, they are saying we need to bring more objective, conservative viewpoints. And we're not talking about the fake conservatives on The View, right? What they did was basically get some on the View, they just took some conservative, by label rhino women, and they put them on the View, and they said, "Look, we have a well-rounded perspective here." When really they just had a bunch of Democratic-minded women at the end who were just basically, had their knee pads ready for the Democratic narrative and echo chamber. That's why they all say the same things all the time. You ever see those little montages of different news reporters and they're all saying the same exact thing? Like, what is the message of the day? And they will just spit it. You said Obama was the best. I think a lot of people would beg to differ. The Obama was, really, he wasn't for the people. I don't think Obama was for the people. I think he was for corporations and these warmongers. I think that's what Obama was really down for. I don't think he was a good president. I think he was just a face. What are your thoughts on what's going on with speech laws in England and the behavior of the Islamic cultures disrespecting native English? I am not familiar with those laws. I'm still trying to keep up with the laws of my own country, to be honest with you. And since I don't have any plans on going to England, um, I can tell you about that. I think it's sad if they're super restricting people's laws. And in terms of Islamic cultures disrespecting native English, I haven't seen a lot of Islamic people disrespecting native English. So I couldn't relate that. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. I think that there's globally a lot of Islamophobia, and I think that, at least in my time, I think after 9/11, they have really just gone hard on making sure that at least Americans label Muslims, stereotype Muslim, Islamic type people. So the world is just full of ignorant people. What do I think about femboys? What are femboys? You mean like feminine men? I don't really have anything to do with them. We pray for them all. We pray. We pray for them all. That's all I gotta say about that. We pray for them all. You know, Obviously somebody raised them with female-like tendencies more times than not their mom. Most of the times when you got these feminine fairy kind of acting dudes, they were really under the tutelage of a woman, a very liberal woman. Most of the time, a woman with like a shot of mental illness or a full shot or two shots of mental illness. And unfortunately, she's raising that boy, and she's allowing him to wear makeup and dresses and confuse the poor thing, and she over nurtures him and coddles him, so he trusts the feminization, and before you know it, you know he's really intimate. He becomes feminized, unfortunately. You said you're 12 and I like to be a girl. Well, if you were born a girl, there's nothing wrong with being happy with how you were naturally born, right? These people will have you not happy with your natural self for whatever reason. Um, and it's all anti-God, and it's all anti-creation and anti-God at the end. So respect your parents if you're 12, Joey, okay? Especially if they're wise. The Bible tells you to listen to your parents that it may go well for you, hopefully, if your parents are reasonable. All right, you guys. Well, I didn't really have too much to say. Oh, check out my live stream earlier because I was talking about Mike Tyson and Donald Trump and their relationship, because obviously people create these narratives that Donald Trump is racist. And I always like to point out to them that a racist would never have the relationships with black people that Donald Trump has had. And for a lot of people who don't know, Mike Tyson actually hired Donald Trump as his advisor. because back in the day, obviously, young Mike Tyson in his prime, the Mike Tyson that Jake Paul wouldn't have never had a chance with back in his prime, Mike Tyson. Um, he was being taken advantage of. Like I said, Mike Tyson was not the sharpest tool in the shed, and a lot of people took advantage of that. And one thing that I've always respected about Donald Trump, and one thing that has, I don't care about the Central Park Five and the housing thing, because again, Bill Cosby had the same conversation about that housing thing. But one thing I always respected about Donald Trump is how he looked out for Mike Tyson. That man did not like the way people were taking advantage of Mike Tyson. And I think in 1988 they said they say Trump, after he became his advisor, I think that Mike, I think he made close to 20 million more than what he was making under those managers that were screwing him over, right? And Don King too, right? Don King, they were just taking advantage of poor Mike Tyson back in the early days. So shout out to Donald J. Trump for having empathy for that brother, because he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, right? His social value was his agility, right? And Trump looked out for him. So that's why I say, you people can spout all these things, but if you're over 40, you followed Donald Trump, you know that that man has never been even close to a racist towards at least Black Americans. He's never been an enemy of our culture, and in several times he's even immersed himself in our culture. So I talk a little bit about that today in my early live streams. So check that out. You can always binge watch my channel on my live streams tab. I will be, we say, I will only bring this up because you mentioned the Bible. I won't bring it up again. Read a book called Trace by Dr. Nathaniel. I am always open to reading new things depending on what the premise is. Um, I think that like I said, I like things that were actually found by the ancient text. So in the case of these books, and I heard somebody say, because I got the Apocrypha here, somebody made it a notice saying those aren't inspired books. Regardless of if these books were or were not inspired, I argue that quite a bit. I do argue that. My question is, they were still found by books of the Bible. They were still found by the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, take it for what it's worth. I think that God preserves his Bible, his word, and it's going to reach the people that it needs to reach to at the right time. That's why they say spiritual food at the right time. So if you're praying for knowledge, you're praying for wisdom, right? It's going to get to you at the right time. And a lot of times you're going to be pondering over something and pondering over something. And then you just, what did they say? Take a look. It's in the book. Reading Rainbow. I'm telling my age. Anybody remember Reading Rainbow? Yes, but this to me worth taking a gander and nerding out on for a couple of weeks. And who knows, if you've already read the Old and New Testament all the way through, this could present some enlightenment to you and a broader perspective. The one thing I've always argued is that the translations of the Bible, or what, really the scrolls of remembrance is really what they were, or what they were called, with Moses. But, you know, I think that it's like I said, it's not complete, but I think that you should read it all the way through before you start reading any other ancient texts. But if you are gonna read other ancient texts, don't sit up there and like now I'm reading the Bible. Now I'm gonna read about the Anunnakis. It's like, why are you gonna read about fallen angels? And they're always trying to attribute like these fallen angels to something like I heard somebody saying that the Anunnaki were, really black people, and it's like, don't put that demon stuff on us. People are so misinformed. But I would say read the Old and New Testament and then explore the Apocrypha. Like, you never know. You never know. So, anyways, you guys, that's all that was on my radar. The liberals are just they are definitely in their cope session. But like I said, the point of this is there were way too many people with influence talking definitively about who was going to win this election, especially when it came to Kamala Harris. You had Whoopi Goldberg, you had all these people on The View, you had all these media pundits talking about how Trump was going to lose. You had this lady in a supermarket trolling this guy who's a Trump supporter, right? Talking about, I'm a political analyst and I know. And this is how you know these people will put a bunch of credit thing. I did this, I went to this school, so I'm credible. And they could be creditably wrong, incredibly wrong. So my whole thing is I don't buy into nobody's credentials, where you went to school, because if I learned anything about COVID, even people who call themselves so-called experts can sit there and be lying to folks. So, anyways, what's going on, Blind Cricket? I see you. Thanks for checking in. Did anybody see that Ray J and Jamal Bryant interview? I talked about it a couple of days, but I'm just curious to see if anybody actually saw it. Like I said, you base your own judgment, but I think Ray J is hiding a whole lot of stuff, and I do believe that he might have been groomed in that industry. I absolutely believe that he was groomed, but I also believe that part of that grooming is they become the groomers, right? I think that some of these people, they become ops and groomers themselves, and Ray J is just tongue twisting and talking real suspect. So I think it's more than Diddy. I think it's more than Diddy. I think we need to start looking at some of these higher level executives, right? Like they took Lucian Grange's name out of shit, right? We ain't hearing about Mike Rubin, and Mike Rubin looked like he's into some deviant stuff to me. That's just my opinion. But no, they're gonna give you all the colored boys. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.